Skating on a creek behind the house he grew up in. His family went to many Toledo Hornets and Toledo Gold Diggers games. He plays in an adult league in town. The team has no formal coach or captain, and yet they play well. He considers himself old school and what many call a bow key jersey. He calls a sweater, as the players wore sweaters back in the day. Please help me welcome Terry Smith, giving us a speech entitled, "You Don't Need a C on Your Sweater to Be a Leader."
A lot of the Toastmaster material we see now at the bottom or somewhere in it has the phrase, "where leaders are made." Toastmasters, you have 7 club officers, yet the ideal strength is 20 members, which means only about a third of the members are in leadership positions. So does that mean we're only making 1/3 of the club leaders, or that the other 2/3 say, you know, I'm not a club officer, I'm just going to quit? No, there are ways you can be a leader if you don't have that formal leadership role. And what I'd like to do today is just go over a few of those things, give a few ideas for everybody to talk about. Some of it has to do with Toastmasters, but some of it I believe you can apply to your personal, your business, your professional life, however you want to do it. The first area to consider is if you see something is wrong, speak up. Don't be afraid that you're not the leader to say something is going wrong. I want to bring an example from the business world. A few years ago, I was reading an autobiography of Saul Hudson, and he was going through talking about this nice partnership him and several other people had. And they were very successful. They were making money, almost to the point where they made money quicker than they could spend it. Unfortunately, William Rose, the leader of this partnership, figured out a way to spend the money faster than they were making it, or just about faster than they should have been spending it. Everybody else in the group knew it was a problem. Everybody else in the group was unhappy about it. Everybody in the group knew it was wrong, and yet nobody had the courage to say, "Mr. Rose, we need to talk. We need to cut back the way we're spending our money here. We have other peers. If you benchmark the money they make and what they spend, there's a bigger gap in that and that we have. Let's not spend frivolously. Let's not spend so much money on ourselves and make this partnership work, continue to work." Unfortunately, none of them did that. The partnership dissolved. The good news, or fairly good news, is all of them have gone on successful careers, are successful, are still making money. Not as much as they made at that one point back in the 90s, but they're still moving along, doing okay. However, the fact not one of the 4 people who was upset with what Mr. Rose was doing had the courage to stand up, to speak up, and say something to try to change it. They all sat back and didn't do anything. So if you're in the organization, you don't have one of these leadership positions, don't be afraid to say, something's wrong, we need to talk, we need to work on the fix. Otherwise, you're guaranteeing the problem is going to get worse, and there are going to be bad results for that. The second area I want to talk about is supporting each other in the organization. And it's important as we go through talk about it. In Toastmasters, I think it's like the club provides a mutually supportive environment, something that we can go through, work to support each other. But there are other things to do outside or any particular way to show that you support your fellow members. February 22nd, 1980. Minutes before this picture was taken, Mike Eruzione, in front of the net, lifts the puck over the shoulder of the goalie, who looks pretty disappointed, as well he should be, in Lake Placid, New York, giving the U.S. Olympic team a 4 to 3 lead over the Soviet Union Olympic team, the favorite by far in the Olympics. And if you notice, there's more than 5 skaters out there. Everybody on the bench is in the back. Now you can't see Mike Ruziani because he's way in the back in the middle of the celebration. But hockey players, they took the time. They're celebrating the goal. They're celebrating the success as a group in there. That's one thing I like about hockey players. Somebody makes a play, somebody makes a good thing, they all get together, they celebrate together. Don't be afraid to celebrate, to bring up others' accomplishments in the various groups we're in. And I was kind of thinking about how do we do this in Toastmasters, but what is a good way for us to recognize when somebody achieves something professionally outside in their life, whatever they do. I know Deb recently reached a milestone in geocaching, so congratulations on that, Deb. Let's go through when we know people do good things, achieve things, take the time and go through and encourage them to do it. Also, another reason why I like hockey so much is they support each other. And this picture doesn't turn out as well as I'd like it to, but this was from March 26, 1997. Now, many people have seen this from the other angle, where Darren McCarty is dishing out some justice on Claude Lemieux from a previous thing there. Yes, they had the brawl, and you can see the brawl here, but there's several things I'd like to point out in this picture that everybody doesn't see. And the reason I picked this picture over the video is the angle, and there are some things that you see. I have never seen the picture where you see Adam Foote, number 52 in the dark sweater, skating through there, and Brandon Shanahan, you can barely make out the 14, but he's got on there, and Darren McCarty was there. Before this took place, Peter Forsberg of the Avalanche and Igor Larionov of the Red Wings started a fight. At that particular time, Darren McCarty, whose best friend Chris Draper was cheap-shotted by Claude Lemieux a year earlier in Stanley Cup playoffs, started looking around for Claude Lemieux, out to say, I didn't appreciate what you did to my teammate way back in the year, and this is the first time we've played together to have an opportunity on that. At that time, Adam Foote put a hold on the Darren McCarty sweater, keeping him from finding Claude Lemieux. Brandon Shanahan saw this. He came up with a double axe handle, broke Adam's foot grip, freeing Darren McCarty to get involved with the fight. Now, you can see in the background, Mike Vernon, the goalie, in the upper right-hand corner, skating in, as is Brandon Shanahan and Adam Foote. What you don't see in the picture is Patrick Roy skating in to save his teammate, Claude Lemieux. And it's not just his teammate, but a year and a half earlier, Patrick Roy was the goalie for the Montreal Canadiens, the premier franchise in the NHL. He was having a bad night. He was letting in goal after goal after goal. He starts looking towards the bench towards his coach, saying, Coach, I'm having a bad game. Why don't you get the backup in? Coach, I'm having a bad game. Bring Pat Jablonski in. Coach refused to until very, very late in the game. So he promptly, when he was pulled from the game, walked up, talked to the Canadiens' general manager and said, I'm not playing another game for this team. Unheard of in hockey, especially for the Canadiens. So he was later traded, and Claude Lemieux worked to get him on the Avalanche, and the Avalanche won the Stanley Cup that year. So Claude Lemieux was very thankful for that. So again, this is, you may say, well, that's a hockey fight, a bunch of hockey players. Another example of I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out. It's not. These are guys supporting each other. You just may not realize it in that way. And I don't recognize bench curling balls in Toastmasters. Just a thought there. But that's the thing. And the third thing is what you bring to the organization when you're not a leader. Over the summer, I remember Dan Brennan giving a presentation talking about leadership and the Paralympic sled hockey team that on March 15th, 2014, won the gold medal in Sochi. And he was talking about all the other things. It was an interesting team. The best player in camp didn't go to Sochi. They cut him from the team. So there's a lot of leadership challenges in there. And the unique situation is there were 4 wounded warriors on that particular team. And one thing that Dan talked about was what those guys brought to the team. They came in a certain level of maturity, a certain level of purpose. They were there to win the gold medal. And they also got a lot of respect from their teammates because of the situation they were in. They were wounded in battle. You have guys who were born with disabilities. You had guys, one guy on the team was one day jumping railroad trains, jumping onto cars, missed, got his legs cut off. So he can't play stand-up hockey because of what he was doing in there. But they all realized these guys did something different to get here. And the fact they played hard, they brought everything to the game, inspired all the other teams. So when you're involved in a situation, sports analogy, bring your A game. Do the best you can. Be prepared. Give all that you can. And that's what you can do. So fellow Toastmasters, not encouraging anybody without an officer role to quit, but remember, if something's wrong, speak up. Support your fellow teammates, clubmates, business associates, whatever organization you're in. And importantly, give it your all. Do the best you can. If you do that, you definitely are earning leadership. Simon Sink, the author of Start With Why, was giving a TEDx presentation. He kind of said that, you know, some people have the title of a leader, but those who inspire lead. Adam Toastmaster.